Welcome back. Whether you vote in person at the polls on Election Day or you've already voted, you do it at your kitchen table perhaps, it's not unusual at all for people to use a list of endorsements from their local newspaper to help guide them through the ballot. It did not escape the attention of many this past week when the Detroit News said that they could not attach their name or endorsement to either Donald Trump or Joe Biden. That's just one of the issues that have made this such an extraordinary election season for the American press. Let's talk about this morning with the man who helped guide that decision to the Detroit News there on the upper left, Nolan Finley, editorial page editor of the Detroit News. The editorial page editor next to him of the Detroit Free Press is Brian Dickerson, and below them the former editorial page editor of the Free Press, now holding forth on public radio WDET in Detroit today, Stephen Henderson. Gang, thanks very much for the time. Nolan, let me start with you.
Thank you.
You've probably seen the kind of bath that you're taking on social media for making a non-decision, which voters really can't do, can they?
Well, Devin, there's no way not to take a bath on social media these days. We made the decision. We're not going to hold our nose any longer and vote for the lesser of two evils. We are not going to put our name behind a candidate whose vision and for the country and whose values we don't share, simply because in some ways they may be slightly better than the other candidate. And this is not out of line what we've done in the past. This is the second time during my tenure we've made this decision. And 4 years ago, we made that decision in regards to the major parties. We endorsed Libertarian Gary Johnson. We interviewed the Libertarian candidate this time and found her wanting as well. And so rather than fake support for a candidate we just absolutely whose plans and policies we absolutely don't share, we just said, hey, send us better candidates next time. We'll take a look.
Well, this will be the first time I think that I've ever referenced Fonzie and Happy Days on Flashpoint, but I can remember an episode where it was impossible for Fonzie to ever say he was wrong. The word wouldn't come out of his mouth. And I think some people would say that it's just impossible for the Detroit News to endorse a Democrat. Because I don't believe the Detroit News has ever endorsed a Democrat in the history of the paper, going back almost a century, right?
We absolutely never have. And, you know, we passed on FDR, JFK, Adlai C. Stevenson, Harry Truman, LBJ, Barack Obama. Joe Biden wasn't going to be our first Democrat.
Brian Dickerson, what were your thoughts when you heard that was what was happening at the paper across the street?
Well, we already know what happens when people take the Detroit News's advice and choose none of the above. Because in 2016, about 80,000 Michigan voters did that. They went to the polls, they participated in the process, but when they got to the presidential ballot, they didn't vote at all, didn't cast a ballot. Donald Trump won that election by 10,000 votes. So we know what happens. There's no neutrality in this election. Abstaining from the process is a vote for the status quo. So, you know, I no disrespect to Nolan, but I think you've essentially endorsed President Trump without taking the heat for that.
Well, Brian, I'm not going to be lectured by somebody who endorsed 60 out of 62 Democrats. You could have just said, hey, vote straight ticket, and spared everybody the agony of reading Democrat, Democrat, Democrat. 80,000 people didn't vote last time. I don't blame those voters. I blame these two parties for giving them sorry candidates. And they've been giving us sorry candidates election after election after election, and they're going to continue to do so as long as we accept them. Detroit News is not going to accept them anymore. You want our endorsement, give us a candidate whose values we share. That's no de facto endorsement for Donald Trump, simply because people expected us to go that way. We didn't find him acceptable for the reasons we detailed in the editorial. We didn't find Joe Biden acceptable for the reasons we detailed in the editorial. We were not going to pretend to support a candidate we didn't support.
Stephen.
Yet one of those two is going to be president of the United States.
Unfortunately so, but as I've said about the last
Nolan,
election,
do you think it doesn't make a difference?
As I said about the last election, Brian, I wake up every day angry that Donald Trump is president and relieved that Hillary Clinton isn't. I am not going to pretend to back a candidate and say great things about a candidate when I don't believe them, when the paper doesn't believe them.
Stephen,
we're just not going to do it anymore.
Stephen, not everybody gets the good housekeeping seal of approval, and thinking of it that in those terms, as Nolan tried to suggest, that they're just not willing to lend their imprimatur on either of these candidates. Is there value to looking at it that way?
Well, I mean, I spent 20 years of my career on editorial pages here and in Baltimore and in Lexington, Kentucky, making these decisions. And let me first say, I'm glad it's the two of them doing this now and not me. It was one of the more thankless tasks of being a member of an editorial page and certainly of running one. I would correct Nolan a little bit here. I mean, yeah, the Free Press does endorse more Democrats than Republicans because it's a progressive paper. But the Free Press also twice endorsed John Engler for governor, twice endorsed Rick Snyder for governor here in the state of Michigan. And part of the reason for that is a pragmatic approach to it. That ideology is part of it, yeah. You're aligning your values with the choices in the race, but those values are not the only thing that you're looking at. You're looking at a very simple question in endorsements: which candidate is better than the other? And I think that's a fundamental different kind of approach. It's a finite choice. It's not a pure expression of the newspaper's values or beliefs. It is how those hold on. It is how those values and beliefs align with the choice on the ballot. And because, and again, I'm not saying one way is better than the other. I'm just saying it's really different. I think the papers have really different philosophies about these things, and because we also are so adamant about encouraging other people to vote, and when you vote, you have to make a choice. I think I always felt like it was not responsible of me to say neither one, because voters don't really have that choice if they're doing what we think they need to do in participatory democracy, which is participate.
Nolan, jump in there, and then I want to move on to this week. Go ahead.
Yeah, you look at our endorsements, I would say, and I haven't counted them up, but 40% of our endorsements this time went to Democrats because those Democrats we either felt had qualities we could support or they were good representatives of their district. So we have probably been less ideological in our endorsement over the years than almost any other paper that identifies.
Can you name a time when you've endorsed a Democrat for executive office, either at the state or national level?
We have endorsed Senate candidates, congressional candidates. We endorsed Secretary of State, Democrat, last time around. We've endorsed Democrats for a lot of key offices.
Okay,
and
guys.
But we're not going to endorse somebody who we are fundamentally opposed to. And believe they'll take the country in a bad place.
Okay, let me move on to what's coming this week now. Brian, this is a really tricky time for newsrooms to try. Dewey defeats Truman seems so quaint compared to what we've got to try and figure out now with what could be a very prolonged, drawn-out process. Tell me a little bit about your preparations for how you think the week ahead needs to be covered.
Well, we're not at all concerned about being first, and we especially don't want to be first with inaccurate information. So we will not
Which
be
happened
looking
to you in 2016, right?
Exactly. And, in fairness to the people who made that call, using a system and metrics that had served us well for more than a generation. But I think we learned an important lesson there. And this year we'll be, looking at hard numbers. We will not be projecting races in which votes haven't been counted. We expect a lot of different processes to go on in a lot of different communities and states.
Yeah.
And we'll cover them each in their own way.
Nolan, I've only got about 15 seconds left. Do you trust the polling that we've seen thus far?
I always trust polling until it's proven wrong, as it was last time. I would hope nobody would be so reckless this time as to use exit polling to project a winner when such a high percentage of the vote is absentee voting.
It really seems like a fool's errand. Gentlemen, thank you all so much for a really terrific conversation on the week ahead, on the week that was and the week ahead. Take a quick break. Back with more Flashpoint right after this.